Welcome to today's video, where we're going to dive into a topic that might seem a little harsh at first: signs of a stupid person. Now, before you jump to conclusions, let me clarify. This isn't about calling anyone names. Instead, we're talking about behaviors and thought patterns that can hold us back from reaching our potential. We all have moments of poor judgment or failure to recognize when we're not thinking clearly. The goal is not to shame, but to highlight actions and habits that can keep us from growing or achieving success. In this video, we'll explore 7 signs that might indicate a lack of critical thinking, self-awareness, or emotional intelligence. Whether it's overconfidence without knowledge or consistently refusing to listen to others, these signs can show up in all of us. The good news: once you're aware of them, you can take action to change. So, if you're curious to learn more and understand how these signs could be affecting your life or the lives of others, stick around. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that helps you become the best version of yourself. Ready? Let's jump right in. Number 1. Overconfidence without knowledge. Overconfidence without knowledge often leads to a downfall, a truth encapsulated in the Stoic principle. It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. This wisdom struck me deeply during my university years when I was tasked with presenting a group project. Confident in my perceived understanding of the topic, I brushed aside my team's suggestions to research further or refine our arguments. I believed my surface-level knowledge would suffice, blinded by an inflated sense of competence. However, reality soon proved otherwise. The presentation day arrived, and I stepped onto the stage, brimming with confidence. At first, my delivery seemed smooth, but as the questions from the audience and professors began, the gaps in my knowledge became glaringly obvious. My overconfidence left me unprepared to address their concerns. I stumbled over technical details and found myself repeating vague points that lacked substance. The embarrassment was palpable, and the experience taught me a valuable lesson about the dangers of assuming expertise without due diligence. This moment of failure mirrored the Stoic idea that humility is essential to growth. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." My inability to recognize my limits stemmed from an internal arrogance that prevented me from scrutinizing my understanding. If I had been open to collaboration and questioning my assumptions, the outcome could have been different. This failure exposed the fragility of confidence built on a shaky foundation of superficial knowledge. In the aftermath, I realized that true confidence is rooted in a deep understanding, not in the projection of false competence. The Stoics emphasized the importance of self-awareness, urging us to assess our strengths and limitations honestly. By doing so, we gain the clarity needed to learn, grow, and improve. My experience with overconfidence taught me to value preparation and to approach challenges with curiosity rather than presumption. It was a painful yet transformative step towards self-improvement. From then on, I adopted a more stoic approach to learning, prioritizing humility and reflection. Each time I encounter a new challenge, I remind myself of my past mistake and strive to embody the wisdom of Epictetus. It is impossible for a man to begin to learn what he thinks he already knows. This philosophy has not only helped me avoid similar pitfalls, but has also deepened my respect for the process of learning and the value of being open to growth. Number 2. Refusal to listen. Refusal to listen is a stubborn flaw that blinds us to growth and wisdom, as highlighted by the Stoic principle. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. I learned this lesson the hard way during a heated debate with a close friend. I was so intent on proving my point that I ignored his perspective entirely. My words were defensive and dismissive, and instead of fostering understanding, the conversation devolved into frustration. It wasn't until later that I realized I had shut out valuable insights simply because I refused to listen. The situation weighed on me for days. Reflecting on it, I could see how my ego had taken precedence over reason. Stoic philosophy teaches that to engage in meaningful discourse, one must be willing to listen with patience and openness. My refusal to do so not only disrespected my friend's point of view, but also robbed me of an opportunity to learn. It was a moment of clarity when I acknowledged that I was clinging to my opinions out of pride, rather than examining them with the humility of a true seeker of wisdom. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone." This idea resonated deeply as I revisited the conversation in my mind. My friend had been trying to offer a perspective that, if I had listened, could have enriched my understanding of the topic. Instead, I chose to defend my stance at all costs, prioritizing the illusion of being right over genuine truth. It was a humbling realization, but one that planted the seeds of change within me. Since then, I have worked to cultivate the practice of active listening, which requires setting aside one's biases and focusing entirely on the speaker. It is a skill that Stoicism champions, urging us to approach every conversation as an opportunity to learn. By listening, we not only show respect, but also gain insights that may challenge and refine our views. In hindsight, my refusal to listen was a sign of insecurity, an unwillingness to confront the possibility that my beliefs could be incomplete or flawed. That experience with my friend became a turning point, teaching me that listening is an act of strength, not weakness. It allows us to connect deeply with others and to grow intellectually and emotionally. The Stoics remind us that wisdom begins with acknowledging our ignorance, and listening is the first step in that journey. By embracing this principle, I have found that conversations are no longer battles to win, but opportunities to learn and understand, both about the world and myself. Number 3. Emotional overreaction. Emotional overreaction often clouds judgment, a concept the Stoics address with the advice, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." I recall an incident at work when a minor mistake by a colleague triggered an outsized reaction from me. Instead of addressing the issue calmly, I allowed frustration to take over, raising my voice and blaming them publicly. In that moment, my emotions controlled me, and the consequences were immediate: strained relationships, hurt feelings, and a sense of regret that lingered long after the situation was resolved. Reflecting on that incident, I realized that my response had nothing to do with the actual mistake, but rather my inability to control my emotions. The Stoics teach that external events are neutral, and it is our interpretation of them that causes distress. My overreaction stemmed from personal stress and an unchecked desire for perfection. Had I taken a moment to breathe and assess the situation objectively, I would have seen that the error was minor and easily fixable. Instead, my lack of control turned a small issue into a larger conflict. Seneca wisely observed, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." This truth became clear as I revisited the event. My emotional outburst didn't resolve the issue, it only added unnecessary tension. Moreover, it painted me as someone unreliable in the face of challenges, which was far from the leader I aspired to be. The experience served as a harsh reminder that allowing emotions to dictate actions undermines both personal and professional relationships. Since then, I have embraced Stoic practices to manage emotional responses, particularly the technique of pausing before reacting. When faced with frustrating situations, I remind myself of Epictetus's words, It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By reframing my perspective and focusing on what I can control, my thoughts and actions, I've learned to approach challenges with a calm, solutions-oriented mindset. This shift has improved my interactions with others and helped me build trust and respect. The journey toward emotional mastery is ongoing, but every setback offers an opportunity to grow. My overreaction taught me the value of self-control, a key Stoic virtue, and the importance of maintaining perspective in all situations. By choosing reason over impulse, I now handle challenges with a clarity that was once obscured by emotion. This practice not only strengthens my character, but also fosters healthier, more productive relationships with those around me. Number 4, blaming others. Blaming others is a subtle yet destructive habit that erodes personal growth and responsibility. The Stoics remind us, you must blame your way of life, not the world, emphasizing the importance of looking inward when faced with challenges. I vividly recall a group project in college where our presentation fell short of expectations. Instead of reflecting on my contributions, I hastily pointed fingers at my teammates, criticizing their lack of effort and preparation. It felt easier to shift the burden of failure than to admit my shortcomings. However, this avoidance only deepened the frustration and strained our collaboration. In the days that followed, my actions began to weigh on me. I realized that by blaming others, I had not only dismissed their efforts, but had also missed an opportunity to learn from the experience. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Whenever you are about to find fault with someone, ask yourself the following question: what fault of mine most nearly resembles the one I am about to criticize?" This reflection revealed my own failures in communication and preparation. By focusing on others' flaws, I had overlooked my role in the project's shortcomings. Blaming others often stems from a reluctance to confront our own imperfections. It provides a false sense of comfort by deflecting accountability, yet it stifles growth. The Stoics teach that true strength lies in taking ownership of our actions, regardless of external circumstances. In my case, the tendency to blame blinded me to the ways I could have contributed more effectively. My unwillingness to own my mistakes not only hurt my relationship with my teammates, but also hindered my ability to improve. Through this experience, I learned that blaming others is a sign of insecurity, not strength. It is easier to shift responsibility than to face the discomfort of self-examination. However, the Stoic approach of focusing on what we can control, our actions and attitudes, offers a path to meaningful growth. By accepting responsibility, we gain the power to change and avoid repeating the same mistakes. This perspective has since guided me in both personal and professional situations, allowing me to respond with accountability rather than deflection. Today, I approach challenges with the mindset that blame is a barrier to progress. When things go wrong, I pause to reflect on my role and what I can do differently. As Epictetus said, "It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them." By taking ownership of my actions, I've learned to turn setbacks into opportunities for self-improvement, fostering a stronger sense of resilience and responsibility. Number 5. Mocking others' success. Mocking others' success is a subtle manifestation of insecurity, one that reflects more about the critic than the person being mocked. The Stoics warned against such behavior with the principle, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." I remember a time when a colleague at work received a promotion I secretly desired. Instead of congratulating her sincerely, I made sarcastic remarks about how she got the role, diminishing her accomplishment in an attempt to mask my envy. At the time, it felt like a way to cope with disappointment, but the bitterness left me feeling hollow. Later, I began to reflect on my actions and the reasons behind them. Why couldn't I genuinely celebrate her achievement? Marcus Aurelius taught, "Don't be overheard complaining, not even to yourself." My mocking comments revealed an internal struggle, a fear that someone else's success diminished my own potential. It became clear that my reaction wasn't about her, but about my insecurities and unexamined beliefs about competition and worth. Instead of focusing on self-improvement, I had allowed jealousy to poison my thoughts and actions. Mocking success does more harm to the one mocking than to the one being mocked. It creates a mental barrier to personal growth by shifting focus from one's own progress to undermining others. The Stoics emphasize that true contentment arises from within, not from external comparisons. My inability to celebrate my colleagues' success revealed a need to work on my mindset. By focusing on my goals and seeing her promotion as proof that hard work and recognition are possible, I could channel my energy productively rather than destructively. Over time, I began to internalize the wisdom of Seneca, who said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Mocking others' success stems from a scarcity mindset, the false belief that someone else's gain is my loss. Adopting an abundance mindset helped me to appreciate others' achievements as inspiration rather than competition. Instead of resentment, I now feel motivated to learn from their journey, focusing on how I can grow without diminishing their efforts. This shift has transformed how I view success, both mine and others. By cultivating gratitude and humility, I've come to understand that celebrating others' achievements strengthens relationships and fosters a supportive environment. The Stoic reminder to prioritize the quality of one's thoughts has helped me let go of envy and pettiness, allowing me to focus on my path with clarity and purpose. Number 6. Argumentativeness. Argumentativeness, as the Stoics caution, often stems from a need to assert dominance rather than pursue truth. Epictetus wisely observed, "Be silent for the most part, or, if you speak, say only what is necessary and in a few words." I recall a phase in my life when I would engage in debates over the smallest disagreements, not to seek understanding, but to prove myself right. Whether it was about politics, work strategies, or even trivial preferences, I felt compelled to push my perspective. Instead of fostering dialogue, my approach created tension and left me feeling drained and isolated. Looking back, I realized that my argumentative nature was rooted in insecurity. I confused being right with being respected, failing to recognize that incessant debates often alienate others. The Stoics emphasize humility and self-restraint in communication, teaching us that wisdom isn't about winning arguments, but about knowing when to speak and when to listen. My need to argue over every detail masked an inability to let go of my ego, which blinded me to the potential value in others' perspectives. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It is better to be silent than to dispute with the ignorant." This quote became a turning point for me as I began to understand that not every disagreement requires engagement. Often, argumentativeness is less about the subject at hand and more about asserting power. By stepping back and asking myself whether the debate was necessary or productive, I found that many arguments were simply not worth the emotional energy. Letting go of the need to respond not only brought me peace, but also allowed me to focus on more meaningful connections. The practice of restraint, a key Stoic virtue, has transformed my interactions. I now approach discussions with the intent to understand rather than to dominate. Instead of reacting impulsively, I pause to evaluate whether my words will add value. This mindset shift has improved my relationships as people feel heard rather than attacked. It has also freed me from the exhausting cycle of constant confrontation, allowing me to channel my energy into constructive pursuits. Through the lens of Stoicism, I've learned that true strength lies not in arguing endlessly, but in knowing when silence speaks louder. By relinquishing the need to win, I've found greater clarity and peace in my interactions. Argumentativeness once felt like a tool for validation, but now I see it as an obstacle to wisdom and growth. Restraint and active listening have become my guiding principles, helping me to engage more meaningfully with the world around me. Number 7. Lack of self-control. Lack of self-control, as the Stoics teach, is one of the greatest obstacles to personal growth and inner peace. Seneca's words, "No man is free who is not master of himself," resonate deeply with me, particularly when I reflect on moments where impulses dictated my actions. There was a time when my lack of discipline in managing time became a recurring issue. Instead of focusing on important tasks, I would scroll endlessly through social media, indulging in fleeting distractions while deadlines loomed. The result was a cycle of stress, guilt, and subpar outcomes that left me feeling defeated. In those moments, I failed to recognize that freedom lies in mastery over oneself. My inability to control my urges for instant gratification compromised not only my productivity, but also my sense of self-respect. The Stoics emphasize the importance of aligning one's actions with long-term goals, reminding us that pleasure often leads us astray. Epictetus advised, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." My fixation on temporary enjoyment reflected a lack of awareness about what truly mattered, and I paid the price in both time and opportunities lost. The turning point came when I started to embrace mindfulness and intentionality inspired by Stoic practices. Instead of giving in to distractions, I began asking myself whether my actions aligned with my values and objectives. This practice of self-reflection, though challenging, was liberating. Gradually, I replaced impulsive habits with deliberate choices, such as dedicating specific time blocks to work and setting aside moments for rest and leisure. Each small victory over my impulses reinforced a sense of control and discipline, which the Stoics regard as a foundation of a virtuous life. A lack of self-control often manifests in various forms: overeating, overspending, procrastination, or unchecked anger, all of which hinder personal growth. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wisdom became a guide for me as I learned to focus on what I could control: my thoughts and actions. By practicing moderation and exercising restraint, I cultivated a sense of stability that allowed me to navigate life's challenges with greater clarity and purpose. The transformation was gradual but profound. With each instance of choosing discipline over indulgence, I felt a deeper sense of empowerment and self-respect. The Stoics teach that self-control is not about suppressing desires, but about mastering them in a way that aligns with one's higher purpose. This shift in perspective helped me to see that true strength lies in the ability to govern oneself, and this mastery is the key to both inner peace and lasting fulfillment. That wraps up our deep dive into the signs of a stupid person. While we've explored these behaviors, it's important to remember that everyone can have moments of weakness or misjudgment. The goal is not to label anyone as stupid, but to recognize and reflect on actions that can hold us back from growth. By becoming aware of these traits in ourselves, we open the door to self-improvement and better decision-making. If you've seen any of these signs in yourself or others, don't stress. Everyone has room to grow. The key is taking action and working on becoming more mindful, thoughtful, and open to learning. No one's perfect, and recognizing where we can improve is a powerful step toward wisdom. If you found this video helpful or eye-opening, hit that like button, share it with friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more content that encourages growth and self-awareness. Let's keep the conversation going. Drop a comment below and let me know your thoughts on these signs, or share your experiences with overcoming them. Remember, growth starts with awareness, so let's continue learning together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.